Hey, welcome back. My name's Jack, the snack that smiles back. And I have got it right on my face. Oh, and that one there too. Yay! Just wanted to quickly say thank you to all the new subscribers and hello, old Marky friends. How you guys doing? Those of you not in the loop, my mate Marky also does this kind of stuff on his own channel, so feel free to check him out. It is wonderful to meet you all, and I look forward to having you join me on this journey. Now I've listened, and so I've grabbed a few stock footage backgrounds to play with. To try out. You'll see some of them throughout this video and some later videos. Let me know which ones you find most appealing. I found quite a lot and I've credited all the authors below, but of course I don't need to use all of them. But if you find any particularly that you find very interesting, or if you find all of them interesting, feel free to let me know in the comments below. After all, you're the one watching it, so let's make it more appealing to you. Anyway, that's all that needs to be said. If you're new to the channel, hi there, welcome, nice to meet you. Let's just get started. Am I the a-hole? Woohoo! First story today is a two-parter by the user Am I the A-hole Stepson Prob. Am I the a-hole for cancelling my stepson's birthday because he facepalmed me? Oh geez, and they've got 225 facepalm awards. This is gonna be interesting. I married my husband 2 years ago, and my relationship with my stepson, 12, has never been well. We tried everything, but nothing seems to work. His behavior towards me is so terrible. He shouts at me, swears me, and calls me worst mother ever. His 13th birthday is tomorrow, and since my daughter, 7 years old, 's birthday is only 10 days apart, we usually celebrate them both in the same day. They are fine with it. I asked my stepson who he has invited, and that's when he facepalms, the gesture, and tells me that he has already answered this question before in the worst tone ever. This is where I lost it, and told him that because of his attitude, I am going to cancel his birthday tomorrow. At first he didn't believe me, since it's not the first time I intend to punish him without actually doing it in the end. But this time, I was serious, and to prove it to him, I called his grandparents and told him his birthday got cancelled. He started crying, begging me not to cancel, but I told him it's too late. I got berated by his grandparents because of this, and told me that I don't have the rights to cancel his birthday. As his mother, I am pretty sure I can do what I want though, but they weren't listening to me. They even told me that tomorrow they're coming to his birthday with the gifts even after I told them not to bother because I won't open the door. Am I the a-hole here? Edit. Facepalm award? Really? I would have been interested in seeing the other examples she's referring to when she says that this child is such a terrible kid. Because honestly, by what she's explaining, it seems like he's just being a typical moody teenager. And honestly, to cancel a birthday party, let alone their first kind of official teen birthday party, just for them giving you a bit of a snarky remark, that's pretty extreme. And if anything, it seems like you were more so trying to make up for all the other times that you were threatening to punish but never went through with it. Like the final straw that broke the camel's back, they say. It's honestly really sweet that the grandparents are somewhat aware of this to the point that they're willing to come over regardless to celebrate their grandson's birthday. And honestly, look, I get that you are now married to this man, and therefore the kid is part of your family, and in a way you are his mother, but look, accept the fact you are not completely his mother. We don't know the circumstances as to why he is with you now. Either she passed away, or she left him, or the other way around. But I think you need to understand the fact that you are always just going to be the stepmother to him. And so you can't be walking around acting like he is your biological child when he doesn't acknowledge you as the same thing. I'm not experienced as a parent, so I won't exactly suggest any methods I know of personally, but I can suggest that you maybe read up on this kind of stuff to know how to better communicate to the kid. Because to cancel their birthday party just because they were a bit monotone in their response to you, you're the a-hole. Let's see what other people have to say. We tried everything, all the punishments. Why doesn't he love and respect me? You're the a-hole indeed. As his mother, you're not his mother. Further, this is not a fitting punishment for a soon-to-be 13-year-old's reaction. He is becoming a teenager. Can you put yourself in his shoes instead of over his head? Consider how it must feel to have to celebrate his 13th birthday, a milestone, on the same day as his little sister. If he indeed had already told you who he invited, why doesn't he have a right to be frustrated that you forgot? I'm detecting some red flags here, to be honest, because there are a lot of signs that you're overlooking and invalidating him. You owe him an apology big time. Edit. Oh, and you're the a-hole. You the freaking a-hole, man. The mother part is what gets me. My stepmom and dad have been married for 20 years. She is the best. And while she tells people we are her kids, she would never refer to herself as our mother. It is kind of weird balance, but she does all the mother stuff but doesn't claim the title because my bio mum was super active in our life. My stepmom never crossed any boundaries and just treated us like we were her own without forcing us to do anything other than treat her with basic respect. Or a kid dealing with a regular parent. I just wanted real rules as a child because the chaos of ever-changing rules and threats and the punishment stick or won't there be a punishment, it was just traumatic and difficult to deal with. Life was always lived on the edge. I feel for this poor kid and any kid living in such a world. Kids need consistent, fair structure. This is true. I feel like there is quite a difficult balance to have to constantly be aware of when it comes to raising a child. On one hand, you have to understand that they are quite mature and smart creatures, as human beings go. One example I can bring up that fact is that many kids actually find you speaking to them in baby talk, like even at the age as young as 4, can find it rather condescending when you talk to them that way. By which I mean the whole, "Oh hey, how are you doing today?" Them smiling and laughing at you isn't exactly them finding it fun and adorable, it's usually them finding it really embarrassing and confusing, so they just resort to smiling and laughing like as you would in any social situation where you're kind of uncomfortable but want to still feel a part of the group. And I think this is especially true when it comes to teenagers, because we get into a point of development where we feel like we're mature or we want to be treated as a mature person, but we do still need that fair guidance and structure like as if we were a little kid. It's why I didn't want to really barrage this woman for being a terrible parent because, look, teenagers are pretty tricky to deal with. And the best foot forward for you is to really just be communicative with the child and let them be aware of when is the line, where is it being drawn, where is the boundary. If this is real, OP needs some parenting classes. Always follow through with a punishment. Never threaten anything you wouldn't actually do. Punishment has to fit the crime. I recommend the book How to Talk So Kids Listen. Yep, I am saving that book for later in my life. That's part of the problem. She never followed through with discipline in the past, and that's why he doesn't respect her. He also doesn't respect her because she makes threats disproportionate to the crime. A facepalm doesn't deserve a cancelled birthday party. Well, that story was 2 weeks ago, and here's the update now. A lot of you have DM'd me for an update, and since things are getting better between me and my son, I decided to let you know how things are going. Since many of you have called me an a-hole, and after the conversation I had with my husband and his parents, I realized that I did indeed overreact, and I shouldn't have made such a harsh punishment. Some of you suggested if his attitude persists, I should find other ways to punish him, like not allowing him on the laptop, let him do some housework, etc., and I will start doing these sort of punishments if needed. Unfortunately, due to me not contacting his friends on time, his birthday party still didn't happen on his birthday. It was postponed 2 days later, but my daughter still got to celebrate her birthday on the day. My son was obviously really upset, and in the morning he came to me and was on the verge of crying, asking if I did actually cancel his birthday party. I told him that unfortunately his friends already made plans, but if he behaves, I will still do his birthday after 2 days. Surprisingly, he was really polite with me these days, probably because he really wanted his birthday party, but I am really happy to see that he stopped raising his voice at me and stopped with these rude gestures such as face palming. His grandparents were also really upset on me, and they ended up arranging the party for him instead, as they said I am too irresponsible. Both birthday parties ended up being successful, and until now, I still haven't had any severe arguments with him, and I am really happy with the way things are going. Thank you to everyone who sent me DMs to support me and provide me tips, especially the stepmothers who are going through similar problems. Okay, so it sounds a bit like you didn't really learn your lesson. Not so much in the understanding that the punishment you put in was a bit over the top and unnecessary, you seem to have learnt from that, but you're still treating him as someone who needs punishment in order for you to feel like you're actually being a good parent. Like, are you aware there's other ways to develop a strong and stable relationship with a child than just punishing them all the time? I don't know, maybe she's just focusing on those things because that's what this whole main story is about, punishment. For all we know, there is probably other aspects to their relationship that is also growing and has found better avenues for communication. But honestly, I think I'm not the only one to have perceived it as like she hasn't really learnt anything, because she's made quite a few edits of people not really reacting to her well. Just look at the comments. So just to be clear, 1. You did cancel his party. 2. When he asked you about it in the morning of the party, you told him his friends had already made plans, which was actually because you didn't contact them. 3. His grandparents had to arrange it because they, rightly, judged that you're too irresponsible for this. You sound like an evil stepmother from a children's book. Did you apologize to him at least? It doesn't sound like you did. This isn't about finding other punishments. Who the frick punishes someone over facepalming themselves? This is about you not treating him properly. There's just so much wrong here, and your update makes it clear that you do not understand what's wrong. As some added context, the father has been away for about a month or so as a doctor sorting out issues with the big sickie going around. This was something the stepmom had mentioned in other comments in the previous post. So any understanding the father has is really just from what the stepmom says in their phone conversations. I thought he was just away for work for a month. I thought I read that somewhere when I saw the original post or comments. For some reason I thought maybe healthcare workers away for COVID, but who knows. Either way, he left his kid with someone who has zero regard for his child's welfare. Like, we should just be proud that she didn't make him pitch a tent in the backyard and hunt and gather for his own birthday dinner? I feel like the only reason she acknowledged any overreaction at all is because her in-laws called her out on it. Like, she could gaslight the kid to her husband on the phone, but it's a lot harder when his grandparents are also seeing it. I feel like that's why she hasn't apologized, or at least acknowledged she overreacted to him. She doesn't actually think she's wrong at all. I agree. If anything, it seems like she's merely just said, oh, alright, okay, if you guys think it's wrong, I'll stop doing it. But it's not like she actually understands why it was a wrong thing to do. She did contact the friends, but not in time for them to have made plans. Edit. Never mind. OP, if it's true that you lied about this, then you really are messed up. You need to apologize to the kid either way. I was wondering how the kids were able to make plans that were so important that they couldn't be cancelled so quickly, as that didn't make sense, and now I know why. Our next story is from Lilex Marie. Am I the a-hole for telling my boyfriend's mother that her meet cute story is highly disturbing? I've been with my boyfriend for 2.5 years, and I am very aware that his parents don't approve of me, but we've always managed a cordial relationship. The other night, we had dinner with them, and his sister and 9-year-old niece were there. His sister was commenting on how their parents never told them how they met. His mum ended up telling the whole story. She met her husband while she was his subordinate at work, and he harassed her. They ended up cheating on his fiancée together, and when she tried to break it off, he blackmailed her with naked pictures. She cut up his fiancée's wedding gown as a prank, and he threatened to get her arrested, and then just decided to marry her instead. Everyone at the table was laughing, but I guess I looked horrified because she called me out. I said that was highly disturbing and abusive. She said I was being dramatic. I don't know, because everyone else thought it was funny, and it was almost 30 years ago. I told her if I ever have children, I don't want them to hear that, and she was very cold for the rest of the evening. My boyfriend says I had no right to say that to his parents. So, is she the a-hole? Look, I don't see how you can be an a-hole here. She was the one who, if anything, kind of pried it out of you. It's not your fault that your comment wasn't exactly what she was hoping to hear. And if anything, she clearly knew you weren't approving of it and wanted you to embarrass yourself in front of everyone by having a different opinion. I absolutely agree that this is a very disturbing story. From the fact there's sexual harassment in the workplace, the fact that they were cheating on his original fiancée, and she basically went all crazy horse girl on him when he was trying to get married. Though I guess we can argue, was that marriage going to be legitimate in the first place if he was so easily able to just leave her anyway? But it still is just absolutely uncomfortable to know that this woman got away with this behavior. I mean, can you even guarantee this husband is actually legitimately in love with this woman and isn't more so just afraid of her? This is a big red flag from the mother, to have this sort of mentality and belief that she was in the right to do this and it was all just a bit of fun. Though maybe this is just how she copes with it all. It could be a bit of dark humor for her and her husband. Maybe she actually does acknowledge and believe this was a pretty bad thing to do, but it's in the past, and I've grown as a person since then. This was just me, and I'm laughing at it now because I know I'm no longer like that person anymore. And it could be possible that her seeing your reaction made her feel very insecure about herself and a fear that, oh, maybe I am still that person, and so she reacted as such towards your comment. But that's getting pretty deep in assumptions anyway, so look, overall, I'm gonna say you're not the a-hole here. And your boyfriend shouldn't say you have no right to say that to his parents. Like, what? She was the one who asked for your opinion. Again, it's a really silly thing for him to say. Miley30 says, there's nothing cute about that story, and even 30 years ago, that sort of thing wasn't funny. Not the a-hole. That her boyfriend doesn't get it is also highly disturbing. I would be worried about what kind of cute pranks he might have in store. Not the a-hole. For real, a massive red flag if he thinks there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe he needs time to process it? If my parents told me that as their how we met story, I'd need to lie down before I could even begin to dissect it all. Yeah, I agree, it's certainly a how we met story that's a bit different from the usual. Personally, how my parents met was on a cruise ship with my dad approaching my mum asking for a ciggy, so I have cigarettes to thank for my existence. Continuing on that conversation though, I mean, maybe. I wouldn't go so far as to immediately break up with him just because he didn't react immediately, but it's really something to keep a very close eye on. And Dying Star goes in the completely opposite direction. OP, you need to break it off right now. Your boyfriend and the rest of his family are messed up for thinking that that was cute, and his parents are even more messed up. If he is fine with knowing that his parents cheated, then he will do the same thing to you one day. That your boyfriend sees nothing wrong with this scenario is a huge red flag. I think meeting through cheating is pretty common. Not saying it's right, but people do it. But most people clean up the story around other people, and maybe don't mention the awful details like hacking up someone else's wedding gown. Like, just say, we met at work, maybe? Am I the crazy one? Not the a-hole. And in response to Dying Star's comment, I respectfully disagree that his parents having met while cheating guarantees that he will do the same to his partners. I do think she needs to have a serious discussion with her boyfriend in private about what she found disturbing about that story, because they need to make sure their ideas about morality aren't too far apart. Yes, I think his parents finding it, among other aspects of that story, acceptable could be an issue, but it needs to be discussed before she tosses 2+ years of a good relationship out the window. Yeah, I feel there's a difference between thinking something is okay and agree that it's a good thing versus just not finding it a huge issue. For example, while you, the OP, are perceiving this as cheating as a good thing, he is likely just perceiving it as how his parents met. He's not really focusing or caring too much about the fact that they were cheating, but just that's how they met. Next story by Colby1112. Would I be the a-hole if I cut my boyfriend off financially after he ignored my basic requests? Also posted in the advice subreddit, I'm 26 female, he is 27 male, and we have been together for 8 years. I was in a bad car wreck a few months ago after getting T-boned by a semi. Because of this, I got a paycheck for almost $19,000, as well as a brand new vehicle. I practically begged my boyfriend multiple times not to tell anyone we received the money because both of our families suck and like to mooch off of us, even though we are the ones struggling financially and we are the only ones who lost our jobs to COVID. We got laid off within a week of each other, and we both were denied unemployment, so it's been rough. I received the check from the accident 3 days ago. He instantly went and paid $100 to his sister that he owed her, and apparently she asked where he got the money, and despite me telling him not to, he told her I had gotten my check. He instantly told me about it and said that he felt cornered. His sister has that effect on people, so I tried to push it out of my mind even though I was peeved. Since that point, I have gotten phone calls from all 3 of his brothers, his 2 sisters, and even his uncle, who I have never even met, due to him living out of state. All of them were asking for money. I hold true to my restrictions and didn't allow anyone to borrow anything because I know they will not pay me back, and I have more important stuff to do with my money. Pay bills, rent, pay off my car loan and student debt, and put away a big chunk so I can save for a home. The final straw was this morning. I wake up to a call from an unknown number at around 5:30 a.m. and it's his father. He's like, "Hey champ, how you doing? How are you recovering?" So I gave him the rundown. Well, before he hangs up, he says, "So, Julie, my boyfriend's sister, told me you got your money. Peter, his stepson, turns 5 today, and I didn't get my paycheck, and I'm fighting with payroll about it. Can you spot me $500? I instantly hung up and confronted my boyfriend about it. I told him my basic requests were being ignored, and that I felt disrespected, and that I didn't want people knowing for this exact reason. He told me I was blowing it out of proportion, and that I could simply tell them no. I explained that that was besides the point, and that I wanted to avoid having to turn people away left and right. He still thinks I'm overreacting. So now I am at a loss, where a part of me wants to cut access to my check from him entirely, since he can't even follow basic requests. He's not spending the money or anything like that, especially without asking first, but the fact that he told people after I practically begged him not to sit's really heavy on me. A part of me knows he is right, and that I could just say no, but I don't want to have to do that. Would I be the a-hole if I cut off his access to this money? Well, firstly, I'm gonna say he's never had access to it in the first place. The only person who is able to have access to it is you, and therefore if he ever wants to use the money, it should always come through you first. Regardless of if you're a couple, it's 2020 now, you guys are in your mid-20s, you're not like in your late 50s or 40s where he'd be working all the time and you'd be the stay-at-home mum sort of vibe. You're owning your own dough now, that is your dough. Don't let him try and leech it off as much as he wants, because I'm pretty certain you wouldn't like to be doing the other way around. But even if you are someone who is generous in sharing your money with your partner this way, I do think it's understandable to at least forgive him for talking to his sister about it. However, for him to brush off your concerns of feeling disrespected is a bit of the a-hole on his end. That said, this isn't exactly his fault for the rest of his family calling and harassing you, that's his sister's fault. Sure, he told his sister, but he told his sister. He didn't tell the rest of his family. Though, regardless, as your partner, and especially being the one part of that actual family, he should be the one to go out of his way to say, hey, guys, leave my partner alone. She doesn't owe any of you anything. If you want some of her money, get hit by a car yourselves. Okay, no, I'm not going to condone that. Don't tell them to do that. Overall, I don't think you're the a-hole here, but I also don't think that this is entirely his fault. Because otherwise you can get to a point where it could go all the way to the end up being your fault for the one getting in the car crash in the first place. If you didn't get hit, then you wouldn't have all the money for everyone to come and ask you for it in the first place. Ooh. I don't know, it just sounds a bit like you're blaming him because he's the one in front of you at the moment that you can actually blame, rather than his sister who you're not living with and having to deal with every day. But let's see what everyone else has to say. Not the a-hole. Cut him off. It's your money, not his. And if he just ignores what you want, he doesn't deserve a penny. He also doesn't deserve a girlfriend if he just ignores her when she asks him not to do something. My thoughts exactly. Clearly he either has no idea how to handle money, or he has no idea how to care for another person, or both. Exactly. OP is recovering from a car accident. She doesn't need the stress of random strangers asking her for money. Where were these people when she was struggling? Not the a-hole OP. And when his family calls, pass him the phone. He can be the one to tell them no, since it's so simple. Where were they before? Just as broke as they are now. When the payment of $100 prompted a question of, where did you get all that money? You know you are dealing with a perpetually broke family. While many of these comments are encouraging the OP to just flat out dump the guy, there are some who are willingly defending the dude. But didn't he just tell his sister because he felt cornered? I mean, I agree with the notion that he should have to deal with his family members. OP should make him deal with the consequences for his slip-up. But people here legitimately saying he doesn't deserve a girlfriend, and I really think that's way too harsh. He's a grown man who made a promise to his partner of 8 years. Him not having a spine shouldn't be the OP's problem, but he's made it her problem. He's not even dealing with his own family who is hounding her, while she's recovering from the accident. That is a fair point. While you can argue that this is pushing too much of an expectation on masculinity towards a man in terms of growing a spine, I'd have to disagree with that. I think that really growing a spine is just a part of maturity in general. This isn't some expectation of him in gender norms, this is just him being a good partner and standing up for her. I mean, I can see where he is coming from. Hear me out. OP already basically forgave him for telling his sister after being cornered. She was peeved, but was trying to push it out of her mind, as she understands she has that effect on people. If she was mad that he gave her the money entirely, that's not mentioned. This sounds like the sister spreading the news. It might be more constructive for OP to express her issues about the sister. If the boyfriend has been spreading the news, absolutely, throw out the whole boyfriend. I'm not getting that vibe though. I'm getting the vibe that boyfriend made a mistake, was essentially forgiven, and now that same mistake is having lasting repercussions. Is OP taking back forgiveness here? I'm still going to say not the a-hole, but I just think OP is taking the frustrations out prematurely. She should have a discussion and tell the boyfriend he needs to set boundaries with his family and enforce them himself. It doesn't sound premature, considering she's already getting the consequences. And she laid a very clear boundary about his family. He just ignored it, instead of enforcing it himself. Boyfriend is total the a-hole. I know we've been on this story a bit, but there are so many interesting opinions that I feel like need to be heard. No, he's not. An extremely toxic family member backed him into a mistake. It's astounding to me that so many people here can't or won't see how powerless growing up in such a family leaves you feeling. I feel like this could be true. The OP does mention that he has a lot of siblings, though it doesn't mention where he is in terms of the age hierarchy. I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't one who had much confidence or a spine compared to his siblings. I think you have a good point that him telling might not make him the a-hole, but it doesn't mean that the OP needs to ask herself whether she wants to tie herself to someone still under the thrall of his toxic family. And not even someone who is working to break away, but instead someone who doesn't see this as a problem. Well, everybody, that does us for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you're looking at my face right now, that means you liked the video. So all I ask is that you actually show it by liking the video. It really helps out the channel and lets me know what's working with the content. Plus, if you have any feedback yourself you want to give, be sure to comment below. I like to read them, provided they don't hurt my feelings. And while you're at it, if you did enjoy today's content and you want to see more, be sure to subscribe and click that notification bell so you can always be updated on the latest content. I have a lot of fun doing these. It's real fun to talk to you guys and even get your opinions on things and just share my own as well. So yeah, if you guys want to see more of it, subscribe, be sure to check back later. Or hey, even check out some other videos if you haven't already. But with that all said and done, it is time for me to leave. So farewell. It has been nice speaking to you. You're an amazing person. I look forward to you staring at my face amongst the void in the future. Alright, bye-bye.